In this video, me and Dean will be talking over what it took me to create this image in Photoshop, with a little bit of extra banter included. If you're new here, welcome. We're not your typical Photoshop channel. We specialise in photo manipulation, digital art and advanced Photoshop techniques. If that sounds like your kind of thing, be sure to like and subscribe as we put out new videos Monday to Friday. It's free, easy and really supports the channel. Let's roll the video and enjoy.
Hey gang, you're tuned into Photoshop with Clinton and Dean, and today we'll be chatting about the techniques Clinton used to create this action sci-fi piece. So get comfy, grab a coffee and enjoy the show. Hey Clinton, how's it going today?
Yeah, it's going good. Looking forward to getting stuck into this image here.
Okay, so what are we working on today then, Clinton?
Today we're working on a action sci-fi themed image, a little bit of cyberpunk theme going on. And as always, we've started with the dreaded pen tool. Again.
Your absolute favourite, I believe.
Yeah, it is my favourite in hell, I guess.
So normally I'm very critical of your pen tool game. So whilst this is nowhere near my standards, I actually think it's a little bit better than usual. Did you do this on purpose to impress me? I
did. I wanted a gold star.
Yeah, but look at that. Look, oh, Clinton, come on.
And a brown nose.
Really? Look at that bottom bit of the gun. What's going on there, mate?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I don't think you have to follow the shape completely sometimes.
You don't? Is that what you're saying? If you were my employee, you'd be sacked, mate.
when you zoom out, you can't tell.
Yeah, but you know in your heart of hearts, that's the problem. You're zipping around
this is the part I know I'm going to get criticised for.
Yeah, well, it's good job you got it at the beginning of the video, and you know you can get all the berating out of the way right at the outset.
Yeah, it's boring. It's just really boring. When you've done it as many times as I've done it, I just get bored. I know you like to do it, but I have a life.
Yep, fair enough. Okay, I'll concede on that one. So is this a commercial piece, or are you doing this for fun, for a bit of personal?
This was just a bit of fun. So when I was on Adobe Stock, I noticed the image of this guy on a bike, and I just thought, oh, that's quite a good, well shot image. I'll see what I can create with this. Obviously, I was going to go the cyberpunk or sci-fi way, but yeah, it's because sometimes it can be quite hard to find images of this quality model stock wise.
I know where you're a commercial photographer, you have a much higher standard for model stocks than most people, because where you've been used to pre-crazy times, that is, we won't say the C word, but pre-crazy times, you had the freedom to shoot the stock assets that you really wanted, that you could envision. So I can fully understand why that you'll be a bit more critical than most with the
and there's certain things I look for in images which when I use a photograph, and a lot of photographers tend to miss out on it. I tend to see a lot of like comic book poses, which is all right for some stuff, but it's a little bit too over the top for me. I like the in-between moment between the pose starting and the pose finishing. There's a magic moment in between, and if you can get that, it just seems to work really good with in any kind of image.
Okay, that's interesting. So what was your overall plan for this one? What did you have in your head before you started? Was you mainly inspired by the stock asset and thought, right, I'm going to put something together with this?
Yeah, mainly just inspired by the guy on a motorbike, and I just thought I'll see what I can do. And obviously the style of the bike and what he's wearing, it looks pretty much cyberpunk or science fiction, so I went with that theme. I'm not going to say this is like a typical. I didn't think too outside the box with this one. I just kind of went with the theme. I didn't try and do anything different. It was just a little bit of fun.
So you were literally spitballing, no mood board, no preliminary sketches.
Yeah, nothing. I just kind of went with the flow.
Okay, select and mask. I see you use this quite a lot. I never, ever, ever use this.
It's a bit of a miss.
Okay, so how are you doing this for the hair? I noticed that you so you had the path, and you went select and mask. So that's creating the sharp edges, And then what was that tool that you used to go
And
around?
that was just Refine Edge. The Refine Edge brush was on the left-hand side. You just click on that.
So there's a
and then you just go
designated
over
brush
there.
for Refine Edge.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is actually a lot faster and efficient than my method, for sure.
I mean, I do the way you do as well.
Yeah.
On this image, just because it wasn't for a client, I could be a little bit take it a little bit easier. If it was for a client, I would have probably spent more time on the hair. But I usually do what you do, which is make a selection or channel for the body, and then make a separate selection for the hair.
Okay, can you explain a bit about the channel? Because I've only just started getting into channels for creating the initial selection for the hair before going into the Refine Edge tool. Because before I was freehand lassoing it because I'm a maniac.
Yeah, I've seen on the videos it's hardcore.
But I realised if the background has a universal background, this is how late to the game I am. Well, I could just hit an alpha channel, do levels, and command click that alpha channel and have the selection based off that instead of freehand lassoing it.
Yeah, it's like if you've got a good contrast between hair and background,
That's
it can
exactly
be
it,
quite
isn't it?
easy. It can be quite easy to take the hair away by using either the red channel or a different channel, whichever has the best contrast, and then basically making the selection and then cutting it out.
Okay, so you're going through the main compositing process. What would you typically do? I know you're freestyling it for this one, but what you from your previous videos, you mentioned a lot about how you start with a background and then work from there in terms of lighting and color grading. Can you just elaborate on that a bit more?
Yeah, as you can see, I didn't do that for this one, obviously. But yeah, if it's something that I'm planning, something that I'm putting effort into do previous and planning, I always start with the background first. And the reason for that is when you've got your background or you create your background first, all your visual clues are there to how to shoot your model. So if your background is a warehouse with some yellow tungsten lights in the background, when you shoot your model has to be backlit with a yellow gel.
Yep.
So it just gives you all the clues there for shooting your model. When you start with the model first, it's just a little bit harder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm glad you was talking then, because I couldn't jump in and really criticize the atrocious pen tool work that was going on down there. So I'm going to try my best to bite my tongue. I know that on the full zoom, right? Is there any feathering on that selection?
It's just like one or something.
Okay, 1 pixel feather, because you want to avoid that super sharp. Okay, super sharp shooter. That's one for the jungle
when it gets
heads.
to this point, I'm already bored out of my head, like doing the pen tool. So I'm just like, let's cut this bit off and that bit off. But when you zoom out, you can't even tell. No one knows what it's supposed to look like. So, you can get away with it. Like sometimes you can reshape someone's body by just cutting chunks out of the legs or off their arms or something.
Yeah, you're definitely a madman, Clinton. But I suppose you can't really argue with the results. As the years have progressed, I've become less pedantic with things and realised when I see a lot of artists work, and I think the artwork's really good, but then when you zoom in, you can see tiny imperfections. And I'm thinking most people are viewing work in a zoomed out state, and I don't have to be so meticulous anymore. Yeah,
especially like when you do the pen tool, you are creating the form from your selection. So I know what you mean, but you can also, people will think, oh, it's supposed to look like that. Do you know, if you cut, like sometimes if there's a gun, if there's loads of little fiddly bits in, I'll just cut some of the fiddly bits off, and then it just still looks like the gun. No one knows because they haven't seen the before image.
Okay, where's this image from, mate? This background here?
So this is all Adobe stock.
Adobe stock. For everybody listening today, the PM team, we have a shared team subscription to Adobe stock. So that's the reason why we use it quite a lot, because we have, how many downloads is it a month, Clinton?
It's about 750, I believe. About
750 downloads per month that we share between a lot of us. And what that does is it gives us the freedom to just grab any elements that we need super fast without having to spend 3 to 4 times as long trawling free stock websites or Wikimedia Commons or whatever. The time that we save by having these libraries basically increases our productivity massively, and especially in commercial work, if you want to work fast, you need to have access to assets straight away. What do you think on that, Clinton?
Yeah, no, it's definitely good. Like for me, for like it's good for creating backgrounds. There's so many different types of images.
Things like sparks, flames, ash, embers, textures. I've been on a texture download frenzy recently.
Yeah, they've got some good overlays like explosions and things like that. We've got an explosion in this one actually, and some gunfire.
Will you be able to give us the stock listing for all the elements used in this one so I can put them in the description, mate?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, we'll include the file numbers as usual so the guys can do a search and within Adobe Stock and get those images. All right, what you doing here? Color grading?
No, what I was doing, I was using the camera raw filter to try and bring out some detail in him, but then I decided I actually preferred a little bit less detail and the darker look.
Yeah, the more desaturated tone I think works quite well. But what's the style of lighting called on the face? You're the photographer, you'll know. What's going on with that? Is it got a special name? What is that?
It looks to me like hard light. When it comes back on, I'll have a look. It's gone off now, but it looks to me like some sort of hard lighting, kind of maybe in front of him or a little bit in front and then a little bit behind.
Okay, sorry to jump in here. I want this flame pack. Is this on our download history?
Yeah, it should be.
Look, I see the file name there. Right, I need to jump in there and grab that because that's a one-stop shop. That is.
Yeah, a lot of different kind of. I think I used 2 of them maybe. They were pretty good. And now there's this dodgy little, I don't know what this guy is, floating.
There was a kids' TV program called Terrorhawks or something. This looks like one of the robots from that. It was like one of those, what was it called? The one with the puppets in. It was one of those kids' sci-fi programs, and they had little robots like that in it.
Yeah, I can't remember those days. It's a long time ago now.
Yeah, since going back a while, definitely, especially in your case.
Hey, I might be older than you, but I look younger. So
there you go.
It balances out.
So you got this little guy, and he's like a security, a bit like
some sort of
Minority Report.
Yeah. And I added him in, and then he's the one who gets.
That was interesting that you use free transform to flip horizontally.
Yeah, that's how I always do it. There's probably another way to do it easier. Yeah.
Do you hold down Shift when you're doing that to maintain the ratio?
No, I've got my own weird way of doing it.
Well, explain to me. I don't know what the hell you just did there.
Well, usually I make it. I pull the square till it fits the screen, and then I can see where each side is, and then I hold down Shift and just move the handles to each side to where they were.
I'm asking how you flipped it horizontally by just dragging one of the points and then dragging it in the opposite direction.
I just hold down Shift and then drag it.
And then it maintains the proportions, yeah?
No, I just knew where the proportions were.
You absolute madman. There is no way in hell I'd ever do that. This is very, very, that is very different to the way that I'd ever do it. I think I've got some kind of problem or something, man.
I mean, everyone does things, like you could get 10 different Photoshoppers on here, and they probably would do it in 10 different ways. There's a million ways to do one thing.
It just makes me realise how incredibly pedantic I am. I really am. But by spending time with you guys and watching all your content and uploading your content, I am picking up little tricks from everyone and learning how to not be as pedantic and precious with my own work and maybe a little bit more free. I think getting the Cintiq tablet and getting back to my natural media roots, my illustration roots, will help loosen me up a bit and stop being so particular and precise with everything.
But where do you think that came from? The precision side of things?
I really don't know. I really don't know. There's a slight OCD element to it.
Yeah.
100%. Like I remember commercial jobs that I did back in the day where I knew that the part of the figure was going to be obscured by a foreground element, but I still processed and cut out everything behind that element just because I knew it wasn't done right behind, even though I ended up hiding it. It's weird, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those kind of work smart, not hard people.
Yeah.
So if I know something's going to be hidden, then I won't edit that bit.
Yeah, it's completely illogical. It's completely illogical, and I do get that. I do get that. But watching you guys and learning from you guys, you're curves, man, aren't you?
Yeah, I love curves. It's once you get used to it, it's pretty
How
powerful.
long will it take to get used to it? Because
not that long. You just need to every time
again.
every time you create an image, just use curves, and within about half an hour you'll probably understand it. It's not difficult really. It just looks difficult when you probably watch other people doing it.
Yeah, I have used it here and there, but it just never really clicked with me as much as the speed and effectiveness of levels. Levels is kind of on a visual level, as it were. It's easier to understand.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier. I mean, it's practically the same thing as well. The curves is just a little bit more. There's a little bit more control to it.
What's going on here, Clinton?
I was
us the
thinking
inside
about
scoop.
Yeah, I was thinking about changing the lights behind in the background to a pink to be more cyberpunk.
Yep.
So I did that, and then I think I played around with the because it was bright red before, and it didn't really match that pink in the background.
Okay, I get you.
So yeah, I wanted the background light and his light on him to match a little bit better.
The layer stack's looking a bit wacky there. You ever use layer groups?
I do, yeah, but it depends. Again, I'm a bit more clean with my layers when it's for a client. When it's just me playing around.
Yeah, because this is a sketch, isn't it? You're kind of freestyling it and going where the inspiration takes you.
Yeah,
which is cool, man. I wish I had the more time to do stuff like this.
Yeah, I do tend to put things in groups, so usually I'll put everything in a group because it's just cleaner.
And I see you're a fan of the clipping masks.
Ah, yeah, I love clipping masks.
I use about 30% clipping masks and 70% layer groups.
Yeah, it's just that, I mean, I don't know if you could actually create images this big without using a clipping mask. You probably could, but it'd be quite difficult.
My composites are quite intense, and there's a lot going on per layer, and the clipping masks, when there's too many of them, you can't move things up. I've said this loads of times, but if you've got a layer group with a layer mask, that's obviously set to whatever's below using the layer mask, you can move, you can drag, you can do groups within groups, and I just find it has a bit more versatility for the kind of stuff that I do. But I do use clipping masks a lot more now. Is this your luminosity trick?
This is I think I've already done the contrast, so now what I'm doing is color grading. So I'm using the gradient map to color grade.
And for you guys watching today, Clinton's just recently put out a color grading tutorial that's really good. One of my absolute favorites on the channel. I'll link that in the description below, where Clinton covers this particular technique in depth. So you said, Clinton, that you were doing some basic color grading here using one of your favorite methods, which is the gradient map method. Care to elaborate on this a bit?
So actually what I did here, I did two different color grades because sometimes I can't decide which one I like the best. So I did a more blue one, which is this one, and then I did a more kind of pink and red one. So as you can see, I'm flicking them off and on here.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, I just kind of used the gradient map and used more blues in one, and then the other I used more kind of red and pink tones.
Absolutely.
I was just clicking off and on to see which I preferred.
So I'm actually getting quite used to your workflow now, and I anticipated the selective color to be brought in. And for the audience, can you say a bit about why you use selective color after using the gradient?
I think selective selective color is like the little magic sauce, what you add to your color grading. Like you can get a good color grade with gradient map, but then if you add some color into the shadows with selective color, set to blacks, it just gives it an extra. I don't even know how to explain. It just looks a little bit more.
Do you do the same thing for the whites as well?
Yeah.
Or
no,
do you
no,
tend to...
no. I don't touch the. In the selective color, I only touch the blacks, which is the shadows.
And in your previous tutorial, you mentioned once that you don't mess with whites.
Yeah, in my color grade, I keep the highlights white or the lights white.
That's interesting. And can you tell me why you do that? Because
I just think I think the light point always wants to be white. I think it just the color looks a lot better. Like I used to try adding like colors to the lights, and it just looks a little bit muddy. I prefer to have the whites white.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I've kind of done aged stuff or kind of replicated analog photography before. And if you're trying to do an old B-movie poster, it's quite a good process for that because the paper's yellowed. But there's rare instances where throwing on a bit of color to those upper whites, especially if it's something aged, you know.
Yeah, it definitely works a lot.
Okay, I'm gonna have to jump in here, Clinton, for this dodge and burn action. So I know you've done a dedicated video, but for me, someone that never ever dodges and burns anything, can you just explain what kind of adjustment layer is that? What kind of brush you're using? Why you're using that layer blend mode? Luminous?
Yeah, so I'm using dodge and burn there, but I think in this image I didn't actually burn anything. It was mainly dodge, and I was just dodging the highlights to bring a little bit more contrast to the details on the bike and the highlights on the bikes and on the guy. So I basically just used a curves adjustment and pulled up the highlights and then inverted the mask, which meant then I can non-destructively paint highlights onto the model.
Okay, and what was the flow that you used for the brush?
I usually between 11 to 14%.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's just my preference. People have their own preferences.
Why do you use 11 to 14% and not 100?
Because if I use 100, it would be far too strong and it would look ridiculous. Okay,
so you're saying you can build up incrementally.
Yeah, you can. 11 to 14, you can build up. You can build it up gradually. If you put it on 100%, it's going to look like you've spray painted over him with a white brush. And
from the previous podcast that we did, you mentioned that you prefer to use a smaller tablet. One of the Wacom smaller size tablets for doing this kind of work, for your dodging and burning.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a big one.
Oh, here we go. Not again. You do have a big one, but you don't like to use it.
I do have a big one in my bag, but yeah, no, I tend to use the small one.
Fair dues, mate. Okay, moving swiftly on. You've got some kind of some time lapse traffic that you're using to create.
Yeah, so that's what's it called now? Light trails. So
light trails. That's it.
Yeah, some light trail photography, and I've just using that to create like motion of the kind of
nice. You
colors from
manually.
The bike.
You just painted that over that light manually.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
see, I would have cut a selection around that light shape, duplicated it, and then gone filter blur, Gaussian blur. But yours came out really nice.
So basically it was the light trick that we spoke about last time. Again, just a blank layer on a linear dodge, just paint over the light, and it creates a little glow. And I'm doing it to these little flying robots as well.
And for the kind of the traffic photography that you use for those speed lines, was that a screen blend mode?
Yeah, that was just it basically used it like an overlay.
Okay, interesting. You guys use some really crazy like canvas sizes. Why did you choose to go really widescreen on this?
It's moving forward, so you want to have some energy in the image, and you want to because the background's blurry and he's moving forward, he needs room to be driving into. If I cut off some of the front, it wouldn't feel right composition wise, because it would look like he's going to fall off a cliff or something.
Yeah,
it's just a compositional trick.
I've never had the guts to really go as wide as this ever. I think it's cover artist for so long. my brain seems to work in kind of standard landscape and portrait formats, and I've never really come out of my comfort zone to do stuff like this. I should give it a go one day.
Yeah, man, you should. I mean, I think on pieces like this, which is basically it's not for a client, you can do what you want and play around and just try things.
Redowan likes to do it a lot, super wide format. So this is it gives a more cinematic feel as well.
Definitely.
Like the kind of letterbox vibe.
Yeah, I mean, if I added two of those black bars at the top and the bottom, it would look probably quite cinematic, to be fair.
So a lot of these techniques that you're using here are quite familiar to me now after doing this a few times. And you have a set way of doing things. So do you ever do anything like radical out of the box, or do you have your go-to techniques?
Not really. Like if you went through all my layers, it's pretty much always found just the same foundational tools. Like,
well, that was nice. What happened there? So Nick Collection, third-party plugin.
Yeah, that was the bleach bypass.
Bleach bypass, and I've noticed you really like this, didn't you?
Yeah, it's good for if you put it on luminosity. It doesn't desaturate the image, but it pulls out the blacks in the details.
When you say, is that luminosity within the actual plugin settings?
No, luminosity in the layer blend modes.
Oh, okay. I am so stealing that. For you guys watching today, I'll put a link for the Nick Collection plugin. It's owned by a new company now. I hunted down the link so we could mention it, and that is in the description below. So bleach bypass filter, Nick Collection, and then it's set to luminosity blend mode.
Yeah, so it doesn't desaturate the image, but it adds more contrast to the.
It does. It's like a more subtle. What's the word for it? It's in the camera raw filter. Clarity.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like clarity, but without the over-the-top sharpness.
Yeah. So what I'm doing now is
do you use clarity?
Yeah. Sometimes before I export my image for online, I add a little bit of clarity in Lightroom.
Just a little bit. And this is like an RGB shift effect.
Yeah, I'm just kind of moving the channels here and creating that little bit of a shift effect, and it gives it a little bit of a, I don't know how to describe, like a 3D or gamer feel to it.
I talked all over it. Sorry, mate, but you did something with the blend if, or you jumped into
it was with the layer styles. You just turned one of the channels off and then you separate the other two.
Will you be able to do a dedicated tutorial that focuses just on that?
I can do, yeah, but it's also in the tutorial video I did a while back, the scan lines and the.
Well, I'm saying that one technique, just do that. I want to see that as a video for my own selfish reasons. Will you be able to do that within the next week or fortnight for us, Clinton?
Yep.
Because if I want to see it, I can guarantee there's 100,000 other people that want to see it, and it's YouTube, man. We can do lots of videos and cover things more in depth. You can't do the same thing too often. And that one particular trick, I want to know exactly how it was done.
For sure, yeah, I can do
it.
So this was me playing around with light flares, but I think I actually decided that it was too much and then took them back out.
And I know these. I remember where these came from back in the day. Yeah, this is an old school asset you're using here, mate.
I've got tons of old school.
Oh, I remember these
Assets. They've probably got cobwebs on them.
Yeah, yeah. PSD box, I believe. It looks like
I think it could be.
Yeah. Normally, there's a little white watermark at the bottom right saying PSD box. The ones I've got, and they look exactly the same. Do you have any rhyme or reason to your organizational structure?
There is a little bit, because I started off with none, and then I started trying to get some kind of rhyme and reason as I went on.
Yeah, so, they were PSD.
Oh, this is the PSD box overlay here.
These are nice. We need to start making our own ones of these.
Yeah, I mean, PSD box was big in the old days, and
yeah, I've used loads of their assets. Really, really good stuff. And even all these years later, still using their assets. Yeah. So if anybody involved with PSD boxes watching today, we're fans, and great resources.
Yeah. So again, on this, I'm just adding some light leaks in now. Kind of like we've been over and what we go over in the Hollywood processing course as well. Just kind of painting them in with a black on a blank layer on a linear light blend mode.
For you guys watching, if you're new to the channel, Clinton is referring to his training course, his full training course that focuses exclusively on these Hollywood style composites. It includes the color processing, the compositing, light leaks, advanced lighting effects. And the reason why I think taking a course like that is really beneficial is because it's structured. You've got an A to Z guide that will save you so many months or years trawling separate little videos trying to piece it all together. So I've taken that course myself, and it's really pushed my my color processing game, which wasn't so hot before. Any thoughts on the benefits of taking a training course as opposed to trying to piece it together, Clinton?
Yeah, I think it's just more, like you mentioned, more coherent. So you can kind of follow it from A to B without having to search 3 hours to find the right one.
Absolutely. I agree with you there. I'm going to just cut you short quickly because we're nearing the end of this one now. I appreciate you sharing the info today, Clinton.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been fun. Looking forward to doing another one.
Always a laugh.
Thanks for tuning in, team. That's it for today's video. If you haven't already, please do like and subscribe. It's free, easy, and really supports the channel. Really appreciate your support so far. Catch you at the next video. See you then.